What's up, creepers and geekers? Chris, the Atari Creep. How is everyone doing today? Welcome back to Milieu Macabre, where we finish, or at least continue work on my Rubies DL-44 blaster mod. And I'm sick and tired of holding and working on this piece here. So let's move over to the dreaded scope. Let me put this down. And finally get working on this thing. So, I haven't really done much aside from, I filled this void here. And in doing that, it's keeping me from actually pulling the two pieces apart to do a few things, but that's okay. And then I drilled out the front here because I want to try to make this look a little bit more functional than it does now, but not going too nuts. So the biggest obvious here is I got this void, and I need to somehow fill this. And my first thought was hot glue, but I went through my parts bin and I found this bad boy here. So what I'm going to do here, and hopefully we can get this scope done and ready to mount at the end of this video, is I'm probably just going to jam this in here. Well, I'm going to. I'm saying probably like it's an option. And just put it right about there. And of course I'm going to secure it in there with hot glue. Then I'll only have this little spot here to worry about. And maybe a little bit right here. And then the rest of this can be putty work. I'll obviously put some hot glue on the top of there to fill the void. I got tons of hot glue, guys. So that's why I've been using a lot of it. So we're going to use that to fill the void. And then we're going to look towards the ends here and make them look a little more legit. And in theory, I could just leave this here and maybe hollow it out and put a piece of plastic in there or something. But I found this in my Nerve parts bin. And it just so happens to fit on there perfectly. And the only reason I think I want to go with this versus just hollowing this out and putting a piece of clear plastic behind it is because this actually has a lip on the inside that'll hold that piece of plastic much better. Plus it has this little detail right here that I can kind of dry brush some brass looking stuff. It's just going to be a matter of snipping these off and then just sanding it down. But it happens to fit on there perfectly, and I think I'll be happy with that look after the fact. Then there is coming to the front. And again, I might be overthinking this and overworking it. What I did when I grinded this out, I also hollowed out the inside a little thinner so that this would slip inside there. Now, obviously, it's not going to go all the way because of the screw post, which I can't really do anything about because I've already sealed it off, but that's okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in my vise, and I'm going to trim this about probably halfway down, and then I'm going to cut it as flush to this lip here as I can, and then hopefully get it to the point where I can literally just secure it flush against the edge here. And I'll probably just leave it like that without any kind of plastic. Unless I could maneuver something or finagle something like that. So yeah. So let me get to cutting this thing up, grinding it up, filling this, and yeah. Hopefully by the end of this video, we'll have this mounted to the actual weapon itself. Alright, just to give you an idea where we're at here. I cut off the end there to give it a little bit of just a small lip. And then I trimmed it right as close to this lip as I could, to give you an idea what we're doing here. It'll just cap right on there. It's pretty flush with it. I do need to clean up here, but that's okay. And I will leave this line here because I believe on the actual scope it has that, because that's a separate piece. And it'll look better, and it'll be a nice little dry brush of brass on the end of that, as well as what I put on the end of this. So let me get to chopping that up. We'll get this stuff all glued together, and then we'll worry about filling the void here. Alright, to give you an idea where we're going with this, I popped this fucker in there, and I was able to get that nice and flush. I mean, I need to hit it with some fine sandpaper just to get it to be a little smoother, but it works. So let me see if I can't get this piece in there. Boink. Give you an idea where we're at. And I was able to just snip those real easily, and then using my sanding sponge, get it pretty flush, except for that one spot, but I'd have to grind way too much into the plastic. And then it wouldn't be nice around anymore. So, give you an idea where we're going with this. I think that looks pretty legit. So, now, let me start worrying about filling this void. But like I did with the rest of the blaster, I'm going to hit some black on the inside of certain spots here, because I'm not going to be able to get to it after the fact. So let me do that, and then we'll start getting this worked out. Alright, so now that all the end caps are ready to go, I got black paint where I think I'm going to need it. I need to secure this thing down, so I figure, what the hell. Since I'm putting hot glue in here anyway, I might as well just fill the void right there with a little bit, and that should hold that on no problem. If it doesn't, then we'll figure it out with super glue later on. And then I'm going to run a bead, just a small bead right here. I need to be careful because if you see these little tabs right here, it's what actually holds these on. And I don't want these to be secured just yet. So I am going to leave them in there and pray that the hot glue doesn't lock them in place. And if it does, I can just pull it out, clean out that little void, so on and so forth. So I'm going to just put a bead of hot glue in there, slide this in and hold it in place until it's secure. And then the rest of it, I think I'll just sculpt out with more hot glue. I mean, I do that for a lot of things. People might laugh at me, but that's just what I do. My Necronomicon, if you've ever seen any of those, my little ones, they're about that big, about 2 inches by, I don't know, 3 inches by 2 inches. That was mostly sculpted in hot glue. I just put a little hot glue down and use a toothpick. I love sculpting with hot glue. It's a great medium, and it's cheap. So I have all this, and I got another bag. So, all right, let me get all that going, and then we'll move on to whatever's next. Here's a nice little happy accident. I realized this will slip inside this white tube, no problem. And there was this huge void right here where I couldn't get this to, because I wanted it to block this more than I wanted it to block this. So I just chopped the end of this glue stick off, dropped it in a hole, and just squirted some hot glue in there to secure it. So now that void's filled too. So God bless happy little accidents. Thanks, Bob Ross. Alright, so this is where we're at right now. It looks like a huge mess, I will admit that. And believe it or not, there's not as much hot glue in here as I originally anticipated there was going to be. I really only used like maybe half a stick for this area here. But one thing I did end up doing is, if you see there's a bubble of glue here, I put that cap that I fabricated on here. And I know this all looks like a mess right now, but I promise it'll be cleaned up here pretty soon. And then I taped off this area and just filled it with glue, and now I have the bubble there. What I can do, if it'll focus, is take a real sharp razor and just cut it flush with this, and then polish the whole tip. And it'll give the illusion of a lens. So that worked out, plus it filled this spot enough for me to start doing putty work. Now, as far as putty work's concerned, I'm probably going to have to work from this post forward and this post back, and leave this whole center area alone because of the way it secures to the weapon itself. There's some areas I can fill and some I can't, but I don't want to play around with that until I know exactly how this is going to sit on the weapon. I mean, I know it's how it's going to, but there's going to be parts where part of the gun mount will go into these posts and other areas where it won't. So I'll probably have to do all that filling after the fact. So let me get the filling from here to here with putty, from here to here with putty, and then I need to figure out the back here. I don't know if I want to go the same route I did here in the back, by securing the cap on there and then just filling it with glue and faking a lens. I think what I'm going to do is pour a little bit of black paint in there so that doesn't look as orangey when you look down it. And I have a sheet of clear plastic, and I might just cut a lens out of and just put it in there and secure the cap onto it after the fact. So let me get the putty work done. We'll figure out what I want to do with this, and hopefully we'll get this mounted to the weapon itself, and we can move on from there and hopefully just prep it for paint at that point. Alright, putty work done. Now I just wait for it to dry. I can sand it. I did leave the gap between here so it can be uniform all the way around. And I did decide to do some of the work in here. Of course, placing this on the weapon periodically to make sure I'm not blocking anything. And we should be good there. So now I let it dry. We can sand it and attach this to the blaster. Alright, so moving on to this as far as putting a lens in there. I have this. The girls actually just gave this to me. It had some kind of a fruit bag in it or something. But I also have a big sheet of this stuff, which is a little thicker, but I think I'm just going to go with this. They literally said, hey, do you need this for anything? And I just took it. So I'm going to trace out the circumference of this. Just use scissors, cut it, and then hopefully get something that'll sit in there. And I don't even think I'm going to glue it. I think the force of this going on the end of the scope will hold that in there just fine. So we'll get that done until the putty's cured and I can sand it. And then we'll secure it all together and get it ready to mount. Bam. And there we go. So it's all cured and dried, so I've sanded it. It looks a mess now, but it's flush to the touch. And I just kind of put it on the blaster so you can get an idea what we're after here. And that's pretty much what we're going to be looking at. There was one spot I think I might have touched right here while I was doing something else. There's a dent there. I know it looks like there's one here, but there is not. Just one right there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this permanently attached. And then we'll worry about just filling this little gap here. And we're almost ready to prep it for paint. Alright, I got the scope attached. I use a little super glue up here. A quick bead of hot glue down in there. And yeah, that's it. So now I just need to fill that one area in. Sand it flush. And we'll be ready to prep this bad boy for paint. Now I will say, I made a fatal flaw. I got a little overzealous. And I plugged this on here before painting the inside. So that's going to bug me. But unfortunately, it's solid. It's on there. And if I were to take it off, it would break it. So I'm just going to have to live with that or just paint the lens black. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But we'll figure that out next time because this is where I'm going to leave you guys. We're almost ready for paint. And I'm pretty excited about that. I want this one finally done and on the shelf. So guys, go ahead and let me know what you think down below. Thumbs up. Thumbs down. All feedback to the creep is positive. Thank you guys always so much for watching. Until next time, take care. Creep it real. Yeah, I'm tired. I know it sounds it. It's like 1 in the morning. And bye-bye. Damn that riff.